Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in this video we're building quite a rare kit actually. It's the Tamiya DO335A Pfeil. Now I say rare kit, at the time of recording this was a rare kit when I was doing the filming, which was about 6 months ago. It has now transpired that Tamiya are re-releasing this kit. So not the two-seater, it's this kit in particular is being re-released with a small Kettenkrad, and it's going to be around £39, I believe, just under the £40 mark in the UK. So that's great news for you guys who were not looking to spend sort of scalpers prices for this, where it's up on eBay at nearly £100. So very good stuff. Thankfully, I managed to get this for £30, so I'm right in the ballpark there. So we've got a bit of photo etch to go at this one, and we're starting off with snipping off these parts from the chair. So my friend Paddy did lend me his Valiant Wings book to go along with this build, which was very, very useful. I wouldn't have been able to do the detailing without that book. So that gave all the information, told you what all the parts were. Of course, this was filmed a while ago now, so I don't remember what some of these parts are, but rest assured, it is a very good kit, and a very good book goes along with that. So here we are. I'm just using the Edward sets as it is. I did buy 2 sets. The reason behind that was they come with slightly different things. One's like a zoom set and one's a bit more extended, so I just got both sets because they're the old style of Edward, where they were not very expensive, for £4 or £5 each. So I managed to get a set of 2 sets and utilise them in this build. There's a few ejector pin marks there in the nose wheel bay just to look out for. We got the radiator there as well. There's quite a lot of photo etch that I didn't want to add. I didn't feel as though it was necessary. There's also some stuff that's very useful, and you can see where I've added those side panels in there to the bomb bay and added some wiring to it. And you can see very good design from Tamiya. You've got a very strong wing spar that goes through there. The wings actually clip on to that, so don't push them on just for test fitting, because you can't get them back off again. But you'll see that a little bit later. So just test fitting here now, getting the fuselage halves on. And there we can see what you're going to actually see from if you hold it upside down almost. But I wanted to fill out this bomb bay a little bit. You can see that's what the kit comes with, and you can see what I've added in the other on the other side. It blanks it off there with the Edward panel. And I didn't mind going to town with this. I know bomb bays or wheel bays can be a bit silly to actually spend time detailing them, but I thought in this instance I would, because it's the main part of the kit that you can actually upgrade, that and the cockpit, unless you start opening up panels, which is not something I really wanted to get into. The idea really was to build this out of the box, but try and do my best. Now, spoiler alert, towards the end of this build I was feeling like it wasn't quite going the way I wanted it to. I didn't like how the decals went on, and wasn't too happy with the paint and weathering. So I've got to the end for this video, but I think I might revisit this this model at a later date and try and upgrade it a little bit. Maybe take the decals off, spray the markings on, maybe do a bit of touching up on the painting, add a bit more interest, a few things like that. But for this video, it's a reasonable finish. If I do say so myself, and hopefully you guys will agree. So we're there onto the instrument panel. We need to sand all of that off if we're going to use the Edward parts. Same here as well. We need to sand all of that off, that raised detail, so that we can use the photo etch parts. And the best way to do that is just use quite a coarse sander actually, because it's easy then to get it off and get it down and make sure it's level. And when you've got something like that, you're ready to add on the parts. But of course it all needs to be painted. So what we've got there is a film, a bit of a flash you saw there of the film, and you spray the back of that white, and then those dials show through then. And there we've got the photo etch panel, so that's the one that goes on first. And then you've got various bits of photo etch that go on that for sort of wires and conduits and things like that. And then I add my own wiring using lead wire, copper wire, and all that sort of thing. You can see the photo etch seat belts there, just underneath the model. So everything's sort of floating about, and you may see on the far left-hand side there, I've sort of made an indent in the panel, and that's because I found the wing spar wouldn't go through, so I just sort of cut a section out there. Now for the painting, so the cockpit is ROM 66, and we're using MRP here. We've also got O2 for wheel wells and bomb bays. You're going to prime it in black, and we're going to use some satin white for the rear of the film. And that's what you do, you spray it white and then the dials shine through. And they stand out a little bit better. And then you put the photo etched instrument panel parts over the top, and I've picked out the bezels and painted those black because I wanted to try and add a little bit more detail. And then in the next few sequences, you'll see that once we get all that on, we then use some PVA glue to act as a kind of lens, if you like. So if you put PVA glue through the bezel, when it dries clear, it gives a shine and makes it look like glass. It's a nice effect. And you can actually put this on with PVA glue, but the only problem is, if you do that, you've got to make sure that it lines up perfectly, because if it's slightly out, you can't see until it dries. But being PVA glue, you can just peel it off quite easily, reactivate it with water. So here you go. Don't be heavy-handed like I just have been. All those white circles, that's really how you want to get it. And it's just having a little kind of ball on the end of a stick, a ball of PVA, and you just drop it in. And because it's visible, much like the ME262 as well, the rear of the instrument panel has each dial has a wire coming out of it. So I've just made that up with some very fine copper wire, and the tweezers are holding the tension off of where it's been glued. And I just really want to get a twist, and then I bend that twist back quite tightly then. And as you can see, I'm just using the tweezers again just to hold the tension, because if you just try and twist, you just put too much tension on where the glue joint is, and because the wire is so small, it doesn't hold it very well. So this is the finished version of it, and I've painted the rear of it in ROM02 as well, and then the wires have been painted out yellow, which often seems to be the colour of wiring in Luftwaffe cockpits. And you see that through the front windscreen, so it's an important detail to get if you're going to do it. And there's the cockpit, about as detailed as I really wanted to go there, without going too far to town with it. You can see the side console there as well, where I've sprayed the ROM 66 and not the O2. And now we're starting to get the fuselage half together. This is the counterweight that's provided with the kit to make it sure it's not a tail sitter and keep it sitting on its nose gear. And there you can see the fuselage halves together with the wing spars sticking out, the cockpit in there, the bomb bay in there with all the wiring, everything looking as it should. And we've just got a seam line there that I'm just keeping an eye on, but everything looks pretty good. And now this section here, we've got a very ingenious one-piece moulding there for the spine, which takes into consideration the engine bay and then the spine at the back, so we don't have any seam lines to deal with where there are quite a lot of access panels on the top there. Although I did get it slightly off, or it was slightly off, I'm not sure, probably me, so I did have to just sand it slightly on the sides, but it was nothing like having to have a join down the centre and then rescribe oval panels. And there you can see the nose gun bay cowling going in there as well, and we're starting to get the bits of the engine there and the kind of louvers and all of that, and the fan. And this is a push-pull aircraft, so it's got a propeller at the front and the back, 2 engines, I believe. So it's 2 sets of exhaust. Now here you can see this is me showing you that the wings go on, but if I push it any more, it will clip in, and then I can't get it back off. So I'm just showing you it how it goes on. And it's a very good fit. When you do actually snap it in, it pulls in very nicely. Good strong joins, chunky wings, good joints, just what you need. And now we're looking at the finer parts and starting to get all of that ready. So we've got the gear doors, and so we've got nose wheel bay doors. We've got bomb bay doors, which these are, which you need to cut if you're going to have them open, which I am. And then you've got landing gear bay doors. So these are the nose wheel bay doors. And they've got these ejector pin marks. Now, I didn't film it, surprisingly. I think because I'd gone through and done all of these and I'd sanded them with a sanding stick and then blended it out. I did actually get a fiberglass pencil in the end, and that helped to smooth it out nice and easy. There are some CMK resin wheels. The nose wheel, actually, in the CMK kit is incorrect, and the kit wheel is very much like what is on the plane. So I stuck with the kit nose wheel, but the main wheels I replaced with resin. I'm just showing you there where that section's gone in, and I've just had to do a tiny bit of sanding just to blend it in for my own peace of mind, really. And, here's the nose wheel, which goes on, and this is another problem with the nose wheel. It's actually far too big, because that sort of mud guard is meant to be quite a lot clearer than it is. There's not quite enough clearance, and as I said, it's not the right hub. It's not how it's meant to look at all. So I did go back and use the kit wheel for that. But it's nice hub detail on the resin kit. Might come in useful for something, you never know. And there you can see the main wheels being pushed on as well. I had to drill them out just a little bit. Oh no, quite a bit. They didn't really have a hole. That's right. I had to drill them out, but it was no problem. And then we've got these canopy masks, which come with the Montex mask set that I had for this kit, which I didn't, in the end, as I said, use, but I think I might go back and use that. And these go on okay, vinyl masks, so you just got to watch it around tight curves or complex curves, because they do tend to sort of peel up or get gaps underneath them. So you just got to check before you spray. Just press them all back down again. But where they're on flat sides, they're absolutely fine. And I did actually use the inside and the exteriors for this as well, because I want to have the canopy open. And here you can see I've actually sprayed this. This is meant to be ROM 65, and I've used Tamiya XF23, which I was going to use as a sort of base coat for a kind of pre-shading, and then go over with MRP 65. And the only difference was it was glossy. It was quite surprising how it's just the same shade. It's absolutely bang on. But I do like the finish of MRP, so I wasn't upset about it. But something to know in the future, because using MRP can be time consuming, because to get it down right and get that smooth layer, it does take a bit of time in the application. Whereas if you're using something like Tamiya with Mr. Leveling Thinner, you can just go on quite quickly just to get a coat of paint down, and it will cover well. And I usually go for MRP mainly for the finish, to be honest, but the colour range is exceptionally good as well. But it's something to think about for the future. I was quite surprised how well the Tamiya colour shade was matched to this. Now, there we are, masked up, ready for the ROM02. So that's going to go on over exactly what's already there in the wheelbase, and it goes down without an issue. And there we are, unmasked, and you can see again that shininess. That's just coming from that kind of semi-gloss, or slightly glossy, I suppose it is, finish that the MRP gives you. Very strong lacquer paint coat goes on, very hard. That's what I mean. It's tough. It takes a lot of. It's good for taking a beating. It's good for having weathering going straight on it. And it's not a problem. It doesn't react to anything. It's very strong, hard as nails. Don't need to put an overcoat on usually, only to mat it down. And here we're getting the gear doors on, which are a little bit tricky. There's a number of parts. There is a kind of wavy section underneath. You can just see that. It's kind of like a piece underneath where the door is, and I've added that out of plasticard because I saw it in the reference. And as you can see, again, you've got how the main gear legs go in. Slightly tricky as well, but very strong when it's on, exactly how it's meant to go on. Now we get into paint and the upper colours. Underneath, ROM 65, no problem. And I've already been mentioning how I love MRP's colour choice and colour matching. Well, I'm not too sure their 81 and 82 is what I'd expect it to be. I've got 83 there as well. So what I've done here is spray panels for those three paints. You see on the left is 81, 82, 83, and on for MRP, and on the right is 81, 82, 83 from Mr. Colour. And Mr. Colour have it hands down for me. It's the right shade, exactly what I think of when I think of these colours, and that's the two colours we've got there. So that's what I'm going to go with. And that's these two numbers here when we get a bit of focus. 121 and 122 for ROM 81 and 82. That's my choice for colour. If colour's your thing, then that's something you might want to look at. But I didn't like the shade of the MRP ones at all. And that's going to be thinned down with the Mr. Colour. Sprayed straight on with one of the greens. I can't remember which one I start with. I think it's 81. And then I mask off and go back over with 82. You can see the interior is being sprayed ROM 66 on these canopies, and then we'll swap the cocktail stick around and we'll spray the exterior. Now you can see how that Mr. Colour's gone down. Fantastic. You see a little bit of sink marks on the Tamiya kit, which was a bit of a surprise, and there is ribbing underneath there where that indent is, but when it mats down, I'm sure it's not too much of an issue. We've got the underside mask as well, obviously. And then just using fine strips of masking tape, I've gone on and put the splinter pattern down and then masked off the 81 sections, which I've already sprayed. And then that will leave gaps for me to go on and spray over the ROM 82. That went down very well. And now we are on to the decals, and they are from Eagle Cow. I just didn't get on with them. I don't know why. I've used Eagle Cow in the past. These are the cartograph version of them. There's no problem. They're great decals when I've used them in the past. I just didn't get them on right. I didn't get them sealed in well. I had a bit of peeling. I had a bit of you could see the carrier film and all of that. But I'm going to put that down to my application. I just got it wrong. I don't know what I did wrong, but I certainly got something wrong. But I think they look fine in the photos. But you tell me in the comments below what you think. We don't spend a lot of time weathering either, or talking about decals, because I do a lot of it on the channel. And there's plenty of information there if you want to see in-depth decaling. And I'm sure some of you people call it decaling, but I don't. And then we go on to the weathering. And again, I don't spend too much time other than it's a panel line wash and white back. And on the top, it's the brown for German vehicles. And then on the underside, we just use stone as a panel line wash, both from ammo. And I just go around exactly like this, just placing it in the panel, letting it run on down, kind of helping it along. This is after I've put a matte coat on as well. So this is over a matte finish. And that means the final sort of patina that we end up with is what the look of the model is going to be. You can see just below there as well, I've got the gun sight finished. So all of that goes on. And to get that wash off, I just go over with some neat thinners just to wipe it back. And that should just leave the colour in the panel and not on the plain surface itself. And that brings the model to an end. So there you can see the canopy's just placed. I'm going to fix that open, I think, when I finally decide what I'm going to do. Probably bring it to a base as well, maybe a runway. But I didn't want to stress myself out with this build or anything, so I'm sort of going to leave it here as it is and then maybe update it in a few months. But hopefully you're happy with this, and there's been something to learn, and it's been interesting seeing this classic sort of early 2000s Tamiya kit come to life. And what was a very rare kit when I started it, I didn't like to keep it in the box. Not the sort of thing I worry about too much, so I thought we'd get it built, and I was pretty happy with it. I'd like to get some exhaust as well. I'd like to change out the exhaust. So there's a few things I'd like to do to upgrade this when the parts become available. So as always, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, do consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to help out the channel, there's a couple of ways you can do that in the description below. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know if you've got one of these kits in the stash, or if you're happy that it's being re-released. And that's something you'll be looking forward to getting. So as always, thanks for watching, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.